So when you first open up Capcut, this is kind of what you are going to be greeted with. This is the interface, and the first step in order to start your project is to import some footage. So you can either just click here on this import button or drag and drop your clips right here. So I'm just going to click on import. And then as you can see, I got all the stuff that I want to import right here, all my videos and audio. So I'm just going to select all of that, click on import. And as you can see, now I got all of these clips inside of the software. All you need to do is just either click on this little plus icon next to the certain clip. And by the way, if you want to, look through your footage first, you can just click on here, scroll through it. But yeah, just click on this plus and then it's going to add it onto your timeline. Or you can also just go ahead and drag and drop it onto your timeline like this. And another option that you can do as well, if you want to only import a certain part of your clip, is to go to where you want to have the clip start, for example here, and you can either press I on your keyboard to set the in point, or you can use this little thing here, drag it over there, and then you can have this clip start here, for example. Then you want to go to where you want it to end, for example here, and either press O to set the out point, or again, drag it on the edge. And then you will be able to, again, drag and drop it. And now you can see it only imported that certain specific part of my clip. But if you want to change this, you can either go to, 16:9 to get the horizontal look, or even if you click original, it will just use the original aspect ratio of your clip. If you want to change the frame rate of your timeline, you can just click anywhere outside of your clips. Then this details section will come up here on the right side. Then you can click on modify. And here you're able to manually set the frame rate as well. So for example, I'm looking for a 24 frames per second timeline. So I can set that up right here. You can also name it, by the way, your project. So I'm just going to name this one a test project. And you can also choose where you want it to save. You can also change things like the ratio, the resolution. So for example, if I wanted it to be a custom resolution, I can set that in here. You can choose your color space, but for most beginners, I just recommend leaving these as they are, aside from the resolution and the frame rate, because other stuff you don't really need to touch. So the first and most important part, in my opinion, is your timeline. So that is basically this area right here. This is where you are going to be doing the majority of the cutting, putting clips on the timeline. So adjust how zoomed in your timeline by either using your mouse pad on your laptop or by pressing Command or Control and the plus and minus buttons on your keyboard. Or you can even come right here to the right side of the timeline and then use this little slider to change your zoom. You also have a lot of different settings here on your timeline that are very useful. One of them is the undo and redo button. So for example, if you want to undo a change, you can just click on this or press Ctrl+Z on your keyboard, but you can see this, just undid a change. Or if you want to redo something, then you can just press on the redo right here. They also have the split button here, which will allow you to split a clip in half if you click it like so. So you can see now this actually turned into two different clips. They also have the delete left button, which will delete the clip from the left of your playhead, which is this right here. Or you also have the delete right, which will delete the clip from the right of your player. So this is where you're going to be able to see what you are actually doing and editing. This is where you can preview your edit. You can, start and stop the playback by either clicking on this play button or using spacebar. If you come to this top right corner of your player section, then you can also turn on things like the color, more advanced like color scopes. I'm not going to be using those in this tutorial, but you can turn those on. You can change the preview quality, so you can have your software either prioritize the quality of your playback or the performance. So for example, if you don't have a super strong computer, you might want to put this onto performance priority, so your playback is going to be still smooth. And you can also export a still frame from where your playhead is currently, and basically you can export the frame that you currently have as a PNG or JPEG file that you see right here. You can also make your playback full screen if you click on this full screen button right there, or minimize it. And in this player section, you will also be able to see how long your project is in total right now and where your playhead is at right now. Now on the right side here, you will have the details around your project, or if you select or highlight a certain clip, you will have different settings and adjustments that you can make to that clip right here. So you will have video. On the left side, you also have your media panel. So this is where you will have, you know, all the clips that you imported. You will have the different spaces on your computer, your library. And you also have your audio library here to add songs and music, sound effects to your clip. You also have text right here, so you can choose from a variety of different text templates and text that you want to add to your clips. Then you will have stickers where you can add different stickers onto your video. You will have effects, transitions, filters that you are editing in. So for example, you can see that even on this 16:9 timeline, this clip doesn't fill up my screen fully. So one thing you can do is either you can just grab these edges and scale up your footage that way so it fills up the entire screen, or you can also come here on the right side to video, basic, then position and size, scale, and here you can zoom in more on your footage or zoom out. You can also change the position of your clip right here, so you can either use these two sliders to change and make adjustments on the different axes of your clip. So for example, if I move this 160 pixels to the right on the axes, then it will move to the right, or you can also just grab your footage like this and move it to wherever you want to. You can also rotate your clip, by the way, right here. So if you wanted to make a 90-degree rotation, for example, you can do it like that. You can change the blending modes here. So blending modes are amazing for, and if I go and click on this and then go to the blend mode and change it to overlay, you can see it adjusts the colors differently, right? So basically the blending modes just change how a certain layer on top interacts with the layer under it. So for example, this obviously doesn't look that good on this, but for example, if I change it to screen, then it actually acts as an effect now. So if I scale this up a little bit like that, you can see now I actually added this effect because it with the screen blend mode, it actually takes out the dark parts of my image and only keeps in, you know, those brighter areas. Other than that, here in the video settings, you also have a function to stabilize your footage. So for example, if you have a clip that is not that stable, you can just click on that and then it will stabilize it for you. These are all pretty stable clips, so it won't do that much, but you would basically just choose the clip that you want to stabilize, click turn on, and then it's going to stabilize it for you. It will take a few seconds for it to finish, but you know, you will get more smooth looking footage after it. And you can also choose the level of stabilization. So for example, you can either choose the recommended option, the minimum cut, so it will zoom in as little as humanly possible, or you can also choose the most stable. So here's kind of how it looks now after stabilization, and here's how it looks without. Again, it's pretty similar because it was already stable footage, but trust me, it will help you a lot. Then you also have some other options in here, like the image enhancement, which will basically just try to upscale your footage to make it look just better. You also have noise reduction, which will help, especially if you are using phone shot video, to get rid of some of the noise in your image. You can also have this like remove video flickers, the auto reframe, and also you can add more motion blur to your footage. Another really often used feature in editing, and this is a little bit more advanced, is keyframing. So for example, if you had this clip right here, right, which I'm just going to put back to normal 100% scale for now, and you wanted to have like a slow zoom in on it, then you could basically just go ahead and again choose the clip that you are trying to use. I'm just going to use this one, for example, and then where you want your animation to begin, you put your playhead. Then you click on this little add keyframe button right here. Then you go to where you want your animation to end. For example, I want it to end right here. And then you can zoom in, for example, as much as you want. And now you will see that it actually zooms in extra to my footage. Now, because it's a drone footage, it's not as apparent, but you can see it's slowly scaling up and animating my zoom pretty much in that time period. So you can see I want to make a cut in the middle of it, then I can just press B on my keyboard to get my blade tool, and I can, you know, place my playhead or my mouse where I want to make the cut. I'm just going to click on it, and you can see now it split that clip into two parts. Let's say I want to continue from here. I'm just going to make another cut here. Then I will come back to my regular mouse or playhead by pressing A on my keyboard. I will select this clip in the middle, and then I'm just going to press delete. And you can see it snapped back together on the timeline, and I was able to actually cut out that part in the middle. So this is one way to cut clips. Another thing you can do is you can trim them. For example, if you go to the edge of a clip and then start dragging in a direction, you can see now it's cutting out that part of my clip. It's trimming it. You can also switch between your select mode or split mode, as they call it, right here. So you have the select, which you can access by A as well, and then you have the split, which you can get by pressing B. Now, if you want to change any of your keyboard shortcuts, you can always just come up here to the top where it says shortcut. And then here, pretty much for any sort of thing that you could do in the software, you can actually go ahead and set a certain shortcut or modify it by clicking on it, then pressing the button combination that you want to use, and then that will be pretty much it. And you can also then save your custom shortcut. If you want to add your own music to your videos, then you can just literally go ahead and pretty much just drag and drop on your timeline the audio that you have. And as you can see now, it added it onto it. So this is actually a sound effect and not a song, but yeah, if you want to change the volume of it, you can either just drag this little white line right here and change the volume that way, or you can also come here to the right side to your basic settings, and you can change the volume here with this slider, set the decibel that you are looking for. You can also make a fade in kind of like transition in the beginning and at the end as well, and set exactly how many seconds you want that fade in and fade out to be. You can also, again, add noise reduction, but you won't need that obviously for songs and sound effects. But if it was, for example, a voiceover, then you could click that. They also have different voice changer settings here. For example, if you're adding, again, a voiceover, you could add these different effects to it. And you can even change the speed of your audio right here. Now, just like that, you can also change the speed of video clips, and pretty much the same thing. If you just highlight a clip and come here to speed, you can change how fast your clip plays. So you can either put it, at 2x, 1.5x, 5x, or even a 500x if you want to, by just typing that in here. So that's pretty cool. It's pretty simple to change it. You can also obviously drag to the left side, and then it will put your clip into slow motion. And another cool thing you can do is you can also do what are called basically speed ramps. They call it a curve here, but basically it's the same thing, just like that. They also have some presets in here. So you can see, for example, this one, if I want to apply it, it made this curve in my video. So if I play this back, you can see it first starts off slow, then it speeds up and then slows down again, and then it goes back to normal. So you can create some pretty creative and amazing things with speed ramping. And you can also go ahead and just kind of create your own by clicking on customized, and then all these points basically, just show different parts of the clip, and you can speed up a certain section like this. For example, I wanted to speed up in the beginning, then I wanted to go into slow motion like that, and then come back to normal. And you can also add more points by clicking on this plus right here if you want to make more micro adjustments. And you can see I just manipulated the way this clip looks. And if you want to add just a normal text, you can come here to the text menu, then just add the default text. And you are going to be able to obviously change then the different settings of it right here. First of all, you can change the actual text, right? Properties. You can change the different fonts that you are using. So for example, I can use this one. You can scale it up or make it smaller, or you can also adjust the font size right here. You can make all the different text adjustments, right? I'm sure you have used Word before, or any of these different softwares where you have to deal with letters. So I'm not going to go too deep into that. You can customize your style. You can also change the opacity, which will basically affect how see-through, so to say, your text is. And you can also adjust, by the way, the opacity of any kind of clip. So for example, if you have two clips on top of each other, like this, let's say, and then you adjust the opacity of the clip on top like this, you can see how, you can half see through the clip on top. So that's how layers work basically. Whatever layer is on top is what always gets priority. That's the one you see on screen. And if you, lower the opacity of a layer, it will be more see-through. If you make the opacity higher, it will be less see-through. But going back to our text, aside from being able to add all these effects, like even adding a drop shadow to it, you can also go ahead and add these different text bubbles. So you can just go through all these templates, choose one that you like. You can, download it like that and add it onto it. I'm personally not a fan of most of these, so I wouldn't recommend using most of them, but there are some pretty cool ones as well. And you can also add effects to it. So for example, if I wanted to add, any of these, well, I can just pretty easily do that. Another thing you can do is animate your text. So if you come here to animation, you can choose the in and out animation on your text as well. So let's just take a look at this slide up one. As you can see, it added this animation in the beginning, but there are honestly just so many different ones. Like if I wanted to add this one, I can do that. And same thing goes for the out animation. If I want to add this one at the end, I can just click on it and add it. Now, you don't have to necessarily start a text from scratch. You can also come here to text templates, and you can see if you hover your mouse over it, you can preview how it kind of looks, and then just go ahead, download it. If you like it, you can add it onto your timeline and customize it to pretty much whatever you want. So I'm just going to call it the ocean. How creative. And again, you can change the font from there, you can change the size of it and so on, but it gives you a template and an animation to kind of speed up your workflow a little bit. Now, when it comes to color grading your footage, you can simply just select your clip and either come here to adjustment, and then here you can make your more like pro adjustments. For example, you can play around with the curves to add more contrast to it by adding an S curve, for example, like this. You can come to your color wheels and add different tints to different part of your image. Like if I wanted to add some more orange to the shadows, I can do that with the color wheels. Or if you wanted to go ahead and play around with the HSL, where you can literally adjust the hue, the saturation and luminance of a certain color on your screen, I can do that. So I could change how blue my blue is and all of that stuff. So you can actually do some pretty advanced like editing right here. I'm not going to go too deep into that because that alone would take up like an hour pretty much if we went super deep, but yeah. Or you can also just do some more basic adjustments here, like changing the temperature of your footage, changing the hue, the saturation, the brightness, right? Adding more contrast and so on. And they also have these filters. So if you come here to filters, you can see that, you can click on any of them, apply it, and then it will pretty much be like an Instagram filter, just instantly added onto your footage, and then you get a completely different look. And if you click the plus button right there, you can see it added it on top of it as a layer. So pretty much it's just going to affect whatever is under it, right? So if you wanted to only affect this clip, you could just drag it out so it's only on top of that. But if you wanted to affect this one as well, could just drag it out so that it affects this one as well. And of course, you can also change the strength of the filters. So for example, here, I think this is a bit too strong, so I could make it like this. And you can see now we got quite a nice, look. Now, another thing that's important to note about the layers is you can actually enable and disable certain tracks or layers by clicking on this little eye icon right here. So for example, to make it a bit more apparent, this is the before, this is the after. You can also lock a layer. So if you don't want to mess up anything once you made some effects or changes, then you can just lock that layer in until you want to. And then they also have this mute clip audio here. So if you want to mute a certain track, then you can just click that, and then none of those clips on that track will have any audio. Next up, let's talk about transitions, which are kind of, close to filters. So basically transitions are just a way of transitioning between two clips. So for example, they have like so many different transitions, honestly, that you could choose from. A lot of them are a little like weird and will make your footage look kind of cheap, but there are also a lot of really good ones. So for example, I don't know, let's just look at this white flash one. I'm going to download that, and then I can just drag and drop it here between two clips. And you can see now, instead of just regularly cutting from one clip to another, it actually cuts with this little light flicker as well. And like I said, they have literally like so many of these, it's not even funny. Next up, we have the effects. So effects are also something that they have plenty of here. You could just keep scrolling through these. And yeah, these are also something that works the same way as the transitions pretty much, except they don't actually go like in between clips, they go over them, right? So for example, if I wanted to add this blur effect, I can just click it, add it here, and you can see it created this effect layer, and I can change how long it is, and whatever is under this layer is going to be affected by that certain effect, right? So for example, this is a blur one, so I could change the blur amount, I could change the blur rotation, and you can even use keyframes right here to animate the effect the same way we did with the zoom. All right, now let's talk about actually creating something that's a talking head video, right? So for example, I have this short form clip right here. I'm going to first of all change the aspect ratio now to 9:16, so it actually fills up the entire screen. And let's say you wanted to add captions onto it, right? So I could literally just click on there right now, come to text, come here to auto captions, and then it's going to basically, you know, like you can choose the language, and then you can click on create, and it's going to just create captions for that entire talking head section. So just like that, it created the text for you. Now you can change the font size as well. You can change the font that you are using, right? So super simple. You can add like an outline to it if you want to. You can add a drop shadow to make it like easier to read. And just like that, you are able to add captions onto your video super quickly. Now, if there's any mistake in the caption, you can just select that certain part and then add it into it. Another thing I think is really cool in Capcut is this cutout function. So for example, if you click here on auto cutout and you have a human being on your screen, it's going to be able to actually like analyze your clip and pretty much mask you, so you can put other stuff in the background as well. It kind of works like a green screen, but without you actually needing to have a green screen. Now, it's not going to be perfect 100% of the time, but it does work pretty well. So let's just wait for it to finish and let me show you how it looks. So you can see now it cut out my background. Now I have this clip of the dolphins in the background. I can scale this up, and now if I play it back, you can see it actually, you know, did a pretty good job. Now it's struggling a little bit there on the bottom, but you know, if I just scale up this clip maybe a little bit more and hide that part, it will actually look, you know, pretty decent. They also have a tracking function in here. So for example, if you wanted to stick a text to a certain moving object, you can do that pretty easily, and honestly so many more. Now last but not least, I want to talk about a couple more advanced settings on your timeline right here. So first of all, you can record a voiceover by clicking on this right here. Then you have your like main track magnet right here, which if you turn that off, basically then your timeline just won't just like snap together. So this is it with turned off. And then if you have it turned on, then it just snaps in together like that. You also have auto snapping, which is basically just going to like snap things into place when you drag it up. So for example, imagine like an imaginary line between these two clips right here. If I wanted to like paste it exactly there, you know, it's kind of hard to do it with it turned off. But if you turn on the auto snapping, then it's just going to snap there into place automatically. So I recommend keeping that on. All right, so once you're happy with your project, all that's really left for you to do is to click here on export, and then you can name your project right here. You can choose where you want it to export. You can choose your exporting settings. So for example, 1080p, you can choose the recommended bit rate or make it higher, lower, customize it. That's just going to be like how high quality your footage is. If you want to go for the best, you know, go for higher. You can choose your codec here, your format, MP4 or MOV. You can choose your frame rate as well. You can choose, you know, to export audio or not. And then you can also export your captions if you want to, and even run a copyright check. Then you just click on export, and it's going to basically export your project onto wherever you need to. And then after that, you can just upload it to YouTube or TikTok or Instagram.